I'm so happy to be here right now with Sanna Kokkonen White. And we're in both in the darkness because Sanna, you're in Bali, Indonesia. I'm here early morning before the sun comes up in Florida. And I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to meet and speak with you. And can you share a little bit about how your day was since it's already evening? What does a day look like in your life? Yeah.
Well, thanks, Todd, first of all, for asking me to do this interview. It's an honor. First of all, it's an honor because you trusted to interview someone you don't know at all. I mean, based on whatever you found online. So there's a lot of faith.
Thank you.
Um, and yeah, it's lovely to make this connection. So yeah, it's an honor to be in this Toddcast, which I also love. The name is so cool, Toddcast.
Well, thank you.
Um,
Yes.
very creative, very creative.
I have to I have to give my wife credit for that one. That was her
Oh
idea.
yeah, it's her.
I said,
Okay,
Tamara,
I should.
I'm creating a podcast. She goes, well, you got to call it a Toddcast. And I'm like, yeah, Tamara, thank you. I was like, so anyway, my wife gets full credit on that. That's not my creativity.
Okay, well done, Tamara.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you. I'll tell
I give you.
her.
You asked me how my day has been.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as it's 7:30 p.m. now here, local Bali time. Actually, it's been a lot about animals today. Today's my day off. I was teaching yesterday. Today's my day off. And we have this kind of like I would say like a curse and blessing with my husband. We our weak point is animals, really. And Bali is one of those places in the world where you can just endlessly keep on rescuing animals. There's kittens, there's puppies. Um, yeah. And it seems like it's our karma somehow that we always find them. So as long as we've been in Bali, we always had like bunch of animals, and now only like a week ago, my husband found two freshly born kittens
Mm,
that were dumped somewhere there on the rice fields.
nice.
And since they were so young and still are so young that they would really need the mother, they need constant feeding, like every 2 hours. We need to do the toilet for them and clean them, and it's a lot of work. So the day has been revolving a lot around these two kittens.
Oh,
And then also our dog was quite sick. She's recovering now, so it's been a lot like how to give her the meds and things like that. So yeah,
wow.
a lot of
There,
like around
there.
animals.
Do the Balinese appreciate that you are caring for these critters or these not critters, these animals, these creatures, these sweet little animals, or do you find that in the culture there, maybe folks wouldn't? What is your understanding of that? Because I have been to Bali and there's lots of chickens and animals cruising around everywhere and monkeys and all sorts of interesting animal encounters. What do you find people are when you take them to the vet or you say, here I'm helping these animals. What kind of response do you normally meet with?
Well, I guess both really, it's like everywhere. There are people who locals as well who love animals, and then there are people who don't care about the animals. So um it's not so black and white anymore. It used to be the situation used to be worse actually. What I'm seeing more these days is that even local people have started to, some of them have started to walk their dogs, which we never saw, like, let's say, 10 years ago. So definitely there's more awareness creeping in, which is a really good way.
Yes.
Um, it's a really good way to see that, people are caring more for the animals. However, it's still a very different culture, and we got to understand it this way that there's still a lot of poverty, and to take your animals to the vet, it's costing money for the local people, and oftentimes the locals feel like the animals can actually heal themselves. So there's this belief, Balinese belief, that if dog, for example, is sick, he or she can cure himself or herself by licking, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, there are very different beliefs. The belief system is very different.
that's
Um,
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what's
yeah.
so
So
fun about travel, international travel, and coming up against our own ideas and realizing how different, how we see things so uniquely, which is really fascinating.
yep.
Now, it sounds like you mentioned, I think you just said something like 10 years. How off, how, wow, where do I even start? So you're originally from Finland, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And before we started, you made mention that you traveled to Bali during the Finnish winter, which makes very good sense because oh my God, it's gotta be so cold over there right now. And so how long have you been doing this for? Do you do this every single year for how long now?
Yeah, I do this pretty much every single year. I mean, the first years, I was living permanently in Bali. So we moved. So when we say we, I mean not only myself, but my husband, who's from UK originally, and then our son. We moved to Bali 2013.
Mm,
And the first years, I was living permanently here. And then after the first initial years, I realized that I sort of need more time also in Europe. So I started to sort of balance it out by sort of having the not so nice months. So the European winter months, I started to have in Bali and then have nice long summers in Europe. Since I have a lot of things happening in Europe, so I don't only stay in Finland, but I have a lot of like yoga teaching gigs in different European countries, cities. So I need also more time there.
understood.
And I'm kind of like a gypsy. I don't know, you may remember a singer called Paul Young. He used to have this great song, Wherever I Lay My Hat, That's My Home.
Mm.
Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. Ding, 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 ding. So that's kind of like me. So
Yes.
wherever I go, I'm like, yeah, and I'm so happy here. I don't want to travel anywhere. I'm so fed up with like, unpacking and repacking and all that. And then as soon as I'm gone again to the next place, then I feel equally home there. So it's kind of like gypsy lifestyle.
Amazing. And I'm curious, where did your son end up after all this? Did he decide to stay in Bali or is he European or does he travel with you?
Yeah, so he was traveling with us. We were traveling the world. We've been living together as a family in many different countries. And he actually when he was a teenager, he decided that he wanted to move to Europe. And he's currently living in Finland, and he's looking into moving now somewhere in Europe, but he's looking at different options. So he's
Wow.
running his own business. He's developing actually games,
Yeah.
and he's doing really well. So he could basically live anywhere. So, but yeah, at the moment he's actually oddly enough in Finland, even though he's really the citizen of the world.
Yeah. Very cool. Congratulations. Raising children and seeing them go out into the world and make their way is such a challenging and rewarding adventure. So good job.
Yeah,
That's cool, Sanna. I'm
thank you.
curious, to dive in a little bit into your yoga history and background. Can you tell me what your first experience with yoga was?
Yes. So I was like a fitness person actually before yoga came into the picture. I the late in the late 80s, I was in a corporate world, but I also was teaching. I was, aerobics instructor. This
Yeah.
grape wine, you know.
Jane Fonda. Yes.
Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. So late 80s, early 90s, I was doing that kind of stuff, plus lots of other things like jogging and anything that had to do anything with sports. I was some kind of like maniac, when it came to sports.
I,
Really. I just couldn't give it up. And then I had a friend of mine who was also like aerobics coach, and she did lots of things, ballet and you name it. And one of our many jogging tours were, doing a morning run. She said to me that, listen, I found this new way to move. This it's called Ashtanga yoga.
Mm,
And I got really interested because she was someone I was really looking up to, and she was kind of like my idol, when it came to sports.
yeah.
So, and then she said that next weekend there's going to be like a Ashtanga yoga immersion by this Italian yoga dude called Lino Miele.
Yes, I've met Lino.
So,
Yeah.
you met Lino,
I
right?
did. I
Oh,
talked to, yeah.
cool.
That's so
So,
cool. I thought I was, oh, she's about to say Lino Mele. Yeah.
right.
That's
So
cool.
so then I joined the workshop, the weekend long thing, and I was sold bang like that straight away.
Yeah.
And Lino became my main Ashtanga teacher for the first sort of solid 15 years. And it's no surprise then that, I started to do less and less aerobics. I started to teach less and less aerobics, and I was practicing Ashtanga like 6 days a week, and I started to teach. I started to sort of like bring more elements of yoga into my other sort of fitness classes in Finland. And I started to travel. I went to Italy for Lino's like 1 month long immersion. And then Lino was also coming. That was kind of like the peak, the high time of Ashtanga when I
Mm,
remember
yes.
I remember US and Finland were one of those countries that we had the highest amount of Ashtangis at the time. It
Ah,
was just insane.
everybody
Yeah,
excited at the same time. And you're right, at that point in the trajectory of fame of yoga and commercialization, it wasn't fully full blown yet, right? So it had that. I didn't really come into Ashtanga until 2004. So it sounds like you were able to access that scene long before it really started to get popular, which I
absolutely.
hear is an amazing time period of
It was
excitement and
It really was. I feel it feels like we were a bit like pioneers in Finland because there were no, like proper Ashtanga shalas or studios or
yeah,
schools yet, really as such.
yeah.
So I remember I was practicing with Petri Räisänen, who's quite famous
Mm,
Ashtanga teacher, and Juha Javanainen,
yeah,
and we were renting just this dance studio room. We used to pay 10 Finnish marks at the time. That was the time before the euro came into the picture.
yeah.
So yeah, we just rented this room and did our thing, and it was very little about adjustment at the time, so we were just going for it, and
Yeah.
and that was a real hardcore time, and
Yeah.
really super cool time. And much later on in life, then the boys Petri and Juha, they started to open up their shalas, and the whole Ashtanga thing started to grow like a snowball effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, and then, but I'm curious, just from reading your bio, had you come into Bhakti yoga prior to that Ashtanga yoga experience? Or was it from your Ashtanga yoga introduction that you then started seeking the philosophical side, in which case you found Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of different layers to that. The very first experience when it comes to bhakti and Krishna consciousness was really that I was just handed the Bhagavad Gita, the first Finnish translation, at the age of 15. And
Hmm.
I couldn't really understand it. However, there was something, it really did fascinate me. There was, I guess it felt a bit like a fairy tale, like really funky, colorful Indian fairy tale
Yeah.
to me at the time. And I kind of like always had a look at it and couldn't really understand it too much. And I put it aside and kept on going back to it. And then I remember when I was walking down the street in Helsinki, and I just saw this, I came across this poster on the wall which read that we have free vegetarian meals every Sunday at 4 p.m. There's going to be like a ceremony, like a service, and then there is this meal. And I thought, wow, what is this? And I went there, and it was actually a Krishna temple. So there was this super funky ceremony, a lot of chanting, and I had never like chanted before. And I just felt this pull. It was some kind of magnet, like, wow, there's something really fascinating about this. So I started to go, mostly because of the free vegetarian meal, every Sunday
Yeah.
there. So that was a good carrot.
And it's quite
And
delicious too. Like, right, it's quite yummy.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's like the
Yeah.
best food like ever. I
And
still love it. It's
and the
like
incense and the colors and the smell and the taste, it's like a full sensory immersion, isn't it?
totally, totally. I couldn't agree more. And because it's cooked by people who really are in this kind of like sattvic state, this very pure, conscious, loving seva, this service state. So of course we can taste that. We can taste that love. We can taste that they are like oozing of this kindness and all these beautiful things while they are cooking. So surely we can taste that in the food.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was the first when it comes to bhakti, and it's sort of like there were lots of, like I mentioned before, different layers to it. So I'm not going to go like into every single detail, otherwise we need to be chatting here for 5 hours. But
Yes, I
I'm
understand.
going to, I'm going to do a little leap now into so from the age when I was 15, and then when I found Ashtanga, so being in my 20s, whatever. So um I'm jumping into the year early 2000 when I was living with my husband and our son in at the time in Berlin, in Germany.
Yeah.
And I had been listening to some Kirtan artists, and I was really, really like really drawn to towards Kirtan and chanting in general. And then I was going to this one Kirtan gig in Berlin in one of the local yoga studios. And as I was walking down the street in Berlin, Mitte, the very center, there was a man who came to me and he said, "Oh, excuse me, sorry, can I ask you something? You look like exactly the person who would know the answer to my question." I was like, "Yeah, sure." I still remember the t-shirt. I was wearing this green t-shirt which had like lots of images of Krishna on it. And this man said that, we are trying to find this yoga studio. Would you know where it is? And I said, yeah, I actually do know really well. I'm on my way there. There's going to be a Kirtan concert. And you know what the man said? He said, well, actually, I think I am going to be the artist
Oh,
of that film.
yeah.
And you know who the hell he was? He was Jai Yutal.
Oh my gosh. That's so
Yeah, it was
cool.
Jai
I
Yutal with his
love
wife.
his music. Oh, his
Me
voice.
too. I had
Oh
been
my gosh.
listening to his music so much, and
I,
suddenly he was there on the street, and off we went together, me and Jai Yutal and his wife, and
yeah.
I escorted them to the studio where then he was going to be the act.
Yes.
It was so cool.
That is
So
really cool.
so that was like the big bhakti sort of eye opener for
Mm,
me. And then later on in life, when I found Vijay Krishna, that was like the final kind of like nail on the head. And I realized that, gosh, there's so many ways of doing this bhakti. And
that's so
yeah,
cool. That's so cool, Sanna, because I noticed that you're going to be leading a Bhakti Yoga retreat in Cornwall, England, May 17th through the 24th this year. And I saw that it's with Vijay Krishna, and you had used the words in the description of and the rock star of Kirtan, Vijay Krishna. And so I definitely got the feeling from you that he's pretty amazing. That he really knows how to, well, obviously sing and play music, but get the everybody involved and really connected and deep in on the bhakti practice. Can you talk a little bit about him and your partnership or the way that you guys collaborate together?
yeah. So I met Vijay many, many years ago here in Bali, and kind of like accidentally, I just there was a yoga festival over one weekend where I was teaching asana, and then he was doing the closing circle, the very final sort of like ending thing where he was a kirtan act, and I hadn't heard of him. I didn't know anything of him. And when I saw him performing there, the stage, I was like totally blown away. I thought, wow, this is the real bhakti. I mean, the gusto that he had while he was like chanting and performing, and he was like living and breathing bhakti, totally. And he had this real rock star vibe. However, at the same time, very humble and very grounded, and just like he ticked,
Yeah.
all the boxes. And I was like, wow, I gotta have more of this. Then what happened? I have too many stories to share with you,
Oh,
actually.
please, we can keep going for we'll go for days. No, maybe we'll have to do certain segments because I know we both have an hour here now, but we'll keep it going. But
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I love it when you can open up and just like, oh my gosh, I have so much to talk about. Thank you. That makes my life and job very easy right now. So I appreciate it.
Okay, fabulous, fabulous. So I left that festival feeling like, wow, I found now the real Bhakti artist. And the funny thing happened then. It was probably pretty much the following day. I was coming back from work, driving with my scooter, and I saw this beautiful Indian woman, dressed up in her beautiful Indian clothes, and she had just parked her scooter and she was having her harmonium on her shoulder. And I had to stop because I had a feeling that she's due to play somewhere since, she was carrying her big harmonium. And I said, excuse me, but is there possibly going to be kirtan somewhere here? And she said, oh yeah, we're going to have here under the banyan tree, the studio, do you know? I said, yes, I know. We are going to have here a kirtan, me and my friend, my artist friend. So you're very welcome. Come, we are starting in 1 hour. I said, oh my gosh, I just I just need to dash home, to get changed and have a shower and I'll come, I'll join you. And then I went to the studio, and as soon as I opened the door, guess whom I saw? Vijay Krishna. He was the partner who was going to do the kirtan, with her.
Oh
And I
man.
was like, if this is not meant to
Yeah.
be, then
Yeah.
nothing is meant to be.
Yeah.
And then after that gig, I started to chat more with this lady, this Radhika, beautiful lady, half Californian, half Indian. So has the best of the two worlds, both worlds. They are always the most beautiful people, these half, Caucasian, half Indian,
Yes. Yeah.
and total beautiful human being, like inside out. So then I chatted more with her, and she said, Vijay probably will host like Indian Yatra next year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I so need to do that. And then one thing led to the next, and then Vijay did indeed have his 2018. He hosted his first, I mean, obviously he had been going to India many, many times, and he lived in Vrindavan and everything for long periods of time. But now, for the first time, he was hosting like for a group this experience, like
Mm,
showing
mm.
his his experience, showing his like most loved sites in India.
Yeah.
So 2018, I joined his yatra. Then I went again 2019, then again 2020, and we were supposed to do like every year, like a pilgrimage like that. And then, of course, 2020, I just managed to come back to Bali in February, and then March, the pandemic happened. So then the yatras obviously stopped. But I kept the contact with VJ. I actually invited him to Finland 2019. We were performing together in a yoga festival, Magnesia. We were there at the main stage. I taught vinyasa and he was doing the live music, playing instruments and chanting, and it was beautiful, really beautiful collaboration. And ever since after that, we've been a lot in contact and doing certain things together. We've been performing in Bali Spirit Festival here in Bali together and doing certain things together. Really nice gigs, and so
Very
hence
cool.
the retreat we are going to offer now together this
Mm.
year
Oh, it
in
sounds
May.
amazing. It sounds really cool. Yeah, it looks amazing. The pictures you have, I recommend everybody can go check out your website, which is skyogini.com. Really easy to
Yep.
find. Yes. That's so awesome. I would love to hear about, you mentioned that the first time you read Bhagavad Gita that it seemed like a fairy tale. And now you've had many years to continue to read it, I'm sure over and over again, and also come in contact with lots of individuals who are passionate about it, reading it, and bringing it to life in our own daily life, or using the lessons and the teachings from it to help guide and instruct daily living. Can you explain a little bit now your understanding of it in relationship to, do you still see it as a fairy tale, which can be a really beautiful thing, and or has it taken on a new meaning for you?
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you for that, Todd. I really love questions like this, like meaningful questions. Um, Certainly it has, transformed from a fairy tale into like I would say like a lifeline, more like a lifeline. So uh how I see it now is it's like a guidebook for any situations in life. Um, Sometimes what I do is when I'm kind of like looking for direction or looking for clarity, or even something like I'm looking for a theme for my Vinyasa yoga class, because I always give a Dharma talk before I start to teach, and also I do chanting before the asana happens. So I may just randomly open up any one page from Bhagavad Gita, and then I read a verse, and I'm like, oh, yeah, oh yeah, that resonates. How
Mhm.
interesting, you know? So it's I use it a bit like that rather than reading it in a rigid way, like it has to be a certain order or something like that.
Yeah.
So I use it in many, many different ways, and I do especially like this sort of random way of opening up the pages. And yeah, I've got a lot of inspiration from my teachers when it comes to Bhagavad Gita. I had Radhika Das, who's a great Kirtan artist based in London. He used to host these online sessions during the pandemic that really saved me. And we were doing Bhagavad Gita reading together. So that was very helpful. And Vijay Krishna is really one of the best ones. I mean, you can ask anyone question about Bhagavad Gita and he will explain it to you into detail. So he definitely has inspired me so much with Gita. I would say that's my go-to book out of
Yeah.
any books. People often say, "Oh, can you give me any recommendations about books on yoga?" yes, I can give you a list. However, I would say Bhagavad Gita is definitely the most important book when it comes to yoga. I mean, just the word yoga on its own is mentioned more than 100 times in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, great point. Great point. How do you, in the storyline where Arjuna is faced with warring against people that he's known and people that are familiar to him, or relatives, and in the teachings of, say, Christianity, where there's this idea if you are slapped, turn your other cheek, right? Like if harm comes your way, uh, putting violence back onto violence will never solve violence. And so, one thing I find fascinating about Bhagavad Gita is, and that's why I'd like to ask you, because maybe you've come across a different understanding, or you have a different understanding, or the same understanding, that when faced with this challenge of wondering, should I defend myself, or my dharma, my is it my duty to defend myself,
Mm.
and not just turn the other cheek and let the invader kind of beat me down, so to speak. And I guess it's probably one of the greatest paradoxes of all time. And when I look around the world today and I see the conflict that's going on everywhere, I just can't
Yeah.
help but see this brilliance between this storyline, the Bhagavad Gita, that people were mulling this idea thousands or hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of years ago. I guess I'm curious what your take is in relation to the violence and nonviolence and then standing up for yourself. Have you
Mm.
developed any sort of understanding around that?
Yeah, beautiful. Again, really beautiful question, Todd. So first and foremost, Bhagavad Gita is not advocating war at all. Definitely not. So we got to understand that the Gita is loaded with symbolism, is heavily loaded with symbolism. And this whole Kurukshetra, so this place, which in today's world is actually nearby Delhi, so where the battlefield happened. This is not really like a real war where we are killing people. It's the battlefield of our own mind. So so how I see it is when Arjuna is hesitating and when he sees his relatives, his cousins, his aunts, uncles, whatever, and he's hesitating and he doesn't want to go and kill them. So it's about the mental afflictions actually. It's about when in our own lives we are dealing with difficulties. We are not wanting to see things as they really are. And so dealing with our own kleshas and vrittis, those mental afflictions, that's what it's all about at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah. Great answer.
So, so
Yes.
for some people, it's disappointing to hear that, oh, it wasn't a like real war. Oh my gosh.
Doesn't that
But
mean
no,
I should go fight my neighbor because the Bhagavad Gita told, Arjuna to go and stand up for yourself? But I like that idea around the mental challenges that we have. And then perhaps overcoming, if we can choose to look toward gratitude, or we could choose to look at what we lack, to have that ability to know I'm going to focus on gratitude.
yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, that's how I really see it. That we often it's much easier to turn our backs when it comes to our own, mental weakness and the challenges and our own demons, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really our own demons that Arjuna needs to fight,
Yeah.
and we don't always want to because like to identify we like to identify ourselves through our own suffering, like our own darkness. It's easier to sort of stay in the darkness than to take responsibility of our own lives and step onto the light side.
Mm, great point. Well said, Sanna. Have you ever heard in the yoga world this idea that out of all the different styles of yoga, Hatha yoga, Raja yoga, Bhakti yoga, Jnana yoga, that Bhakti yoga is the easiest for people to connect to yoga with? And would you agree with that? Or do you have a different take on that concept? I know to just clump something into this is the easiest, this is the hardest. There's so much nuance. I know it's like a true bhakti yogi who's trying to chant Hare Krishna all day long in their mind and not let other thoughts come in. I mean, that's not easy. There's nothing easy about that. But maybe it is. I'm curious what your feeling is on this and how you would potentially relate bhakti yoga and say a hatha yoga practice like Ashtanga.
Yeah, I would say firstly that it depends on the person, it depends on the individual. So some people are by nature karma yogis. So, for example, somebody like Mother Teresa, you know, we could easily say that, okay, she was a karma yogi. So doing good through rightful actions. Um, Someone could be highly academical, which I'm not, definitely at all. So someone who's highly academical could be naturally Jnana yogi. So reading like ton of books, studying, getting as much knowledge as possible, and sort of seeking for enlightenment that way. Or someone could be just naturally drawn towards music and chanting and singing and dancing. Then the natural path would be bhakti yoga, since it's emphasized in bhakti that uh, kirtan is so important. I wouldn't say that one path is easier than the other, because I really personally feel that it's so much down to the individual. And um, I wouldn't feel that I'm the person to say that which path is better or worse. I would rather say that every road leads to Rome, and it would be better to try a road
Mhm.
than not any road at all. And
Yeah.
just figure it out yourself. Like,
Yes.
okay, try this. If it doesn't work out with you, throw it out of the window and try the next one.
Yes.
So I kind of like tried pretty much everything in my own life. I tried things that certainly didn't work, like sex and drugs and rock and roll. I've tried so much. And in my own case, Bhakti definitely was the most natural one. And I could see how it's been haunting me all these years. And then I grew older, it started to make more and more sense. And I could see that, okay, I was always leading towards this path, but it took me,
Yeah.
a certain number of years to realize that.
That's fascinating. Isn't that's so cool, Sana, to have enough time in a field to where you get exposure to these different elements and then slowly getting drawn so gradually more toward one certain aspect of the path. That's so cool how that evolves. What sort of advice would you give either yourself or someone in their 20s that is going along this path to just give some encouragement to don't give up and keep going?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big question. Like, life is loaded with trial and error. And when you fail, not if, but when you fail, don't get upset by it and never give up the hope. Never give up the hope. I can say it from my own experience because I went through really low lows in my youth, and I certainly tried methods that were not very helpful. However, I had to go through that phase in order to grow and land where I am today. And because of, you know, those muddy waters that I had to swim through, it's easier for me now to help other people who are struggling and going through challenges. And this is what I'm doing a lot in Bali as well. So I'm mentoring people, and this is what I really love about teaching yoga is that I feel that I can like help people on a deeper level. Um, I have oftentimes students who come to me either through just studio classes, not only through the yoga teacher trainings, that's where things happen a lot, really deep things happen. However, even through, you know, weekly studio classes, I have students coming to me and opening up their hearts and really heavy things happening. You know, I just actually had a girl the other week who was very suicidal and she had just cut herself and she was all shaking and she came to my class and said that I can't stay at home anymore. I go crazy, so I had to come to your class, but excuse me if I need to leave halfway. And I said, listen, you don't need to do anything. You can just lie down and if you need to sleep or whatever it is, but please just stay. It's good for you to stay in the energy and let's chat because I was teaching two classes back to back. I said to her, please wait. And then I have this half an hour gap between the classes. So let's sit down and chat. And indeed, she did stay and we did talk. And she already felt a little better after our chat. And then she also participated the second class and she was in a much better place already then.
Yes.
So, so this is the thing, but I feel that, you know, asana is kind of like a carrot. If we really now get a little bit serious here, it's asana is like a carrot where we tempt people to join this thing called yoga. And then what really is happening is that people start to dig deeper. They use asana as a tool, and then they start to see things with more clarity. And it's really self-help, self-help. And then when
Yeah.
things are meant to happen, more things will happen. And we detox the body first through asana in order to be able then to take more deeper teachings in. So, like, for example, Patapi Choice, I remember he was asked sometime that why, because, you know, if we think about the eight limbs of yoga, yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dhara, dhyan, samadhi. So if we look at the order, asana only comes as number three, right? And then when Patapi Choice was asked that, why Guruji, we start asana, why not yamas and niyamas? And he gave this great answer, which is so true. It went something like this. He said the Western mind is so busy and not so capable of taking this information, you know, this deeper level of teaching. So we first need to detox the body, and through the body, then we detox the mind, and then slowly, slowly, we are more able to understand the yamas and niyamas as well. And it's so true. It's really true. And this is what happened to me as well. I remember because first I detoxed myself through the Ashtanga yoga. And then as I did that, then I also started to understand suddenly, like, wow, Bhagavad Gita, now I get this book. Um, yeah, I don't know what was the original question, but
That was really well said, Sanna. Yeah. I mean, I love the way you broke down. It's very clear the way you just broke that down as to the process, like the long-term trajectory of this process. And I agree 100%. Can you speak a little bit about patience and the role of patience? I feel like you kind of answered this already just in the aspect of like you said, working with somebody who is really on the edge of believing that life is worth living, and slowly, um, I think there's like patience is required to like just have this patience with life, to just trust that it's gonna things are gonna come our way and evolve to make it where we do see a lot of beauty, and that life is really incredible and amazing to be a part of. I can understand. I've seen both sides. You know, I've been in both places, so I I really love how you also, it sounds like, have been in both places and have had enough time to be patient to let it unfold to where you're ecstatic about life now. Well, I'm sure you have been throughout life, but I can feel that you're obviously very passionate and in love with what you do, and this experience of yoga. Can you talk a little bit about your own patience cultivation?
Mm. Yeah, I feel the patience really. I learned about patience through my Ashtanga yoga practice for sure. And you see, I um, I never actually wanted to teach yoga. I never wanted to be a yoga teacher. I Because I loved my practice too much, and I loved the discipline, and I could really feel that it was giving me so much, not only asana wise, however, the patience definitely was developing there um, throughout the practice. Um, so, so this yoga teacher thing, I'm trying to sort of answer your patience question at the same time. Um, so what happened with myself was that early 2000, so um, I was asked to join a yoga teacher uh, training program. And at that time, I had been practicing already, really long time Ashtanga yoga. So I believe it was about 13, maybe 13 years I had been practicing, like 6 days a week practice. And I said straight away that no, why should I join this yoga teacher training program? Because I have no intentions of becoming a yoga teacher. And why? Because I just love my practice too much, and I don't want to turn something that I love so much into a profession. So then I was lured, with the usual things like, oh, but you don't have to teach, you can just deepen your own practice and your understanding and this and that. So then I said, okay, yes, fine then. And then I joined, and I had this beautiful, my main teacher was Elizabeth Connolly, who was this beautiful, beautiful lady from UK, Cornwall. And she had a very strong background both in Iyengar and Ashtanga. And she was this really strong lady and high discipline, which I loved. And when the training then started to come to the end, she asked me that, okay, Sanna, so when are you going to teach? When are you going to start to teach? And I said, no, I'm not going to teach. That's not my intention. And she was like, what? You have to teach. I'm telling you, you have to teach. I was like, no, no, no. And
No.
she said, you know what? If you are not going to teach yoga, the world will lose a fantastic teacher in you. And,
Mm,
I started to cry because I felt there was this pressure. I mean, her words were really touching me. And at the same time, I felt there was this pressure that I had to teach. And then, the patience, then it was all about patience, all the way through. Then I started to sub someone else's classes. And I felt like, okay, I can do this because it's not my responsibility as such, as they are not my own classes. So I'm only subbing for someone else. But then you can just guess how things started to evolve. One thing led to the other, and in no time I had my own classes and more classes and more classes, and yeah, it went that way.
mm,
So all these years, the patience has just like it's yoga that has taught me the patience. That's why it's really good for people who are dealing with any kind of like mental issues or mental health issues or
Mm,
whatever it is. Yoga is such a great self-help tool.
I agree. That's so cool, Sanna. Thank you for detailing that. I agree with you. I think that that's one of the most incredible things. I like that you put emphasis on patience in your on your website. Oh, I like it. I like hearing about patience. It's something that I keep trying, wanting to cultivate more of, and it feels like like a bottomless well. Like sometimes when I think, yeah, I'm a patient person, and then I'm at the red light, going, yeah, I'm a patient person. Yeah, yeah, I'm real patient. I can
I'm
keep
sure
working
you
on
are.
this.
You
I can
definitely
keep working on this. Yeah.
are. I'm sure you are very patient, Todd.
Oh my gosh. I'm curious, you know, I would say probably a lot of yoga teachers and or just people that love to practice yoga think I want to go to Bali and hang out, and like you're living there and you're there on the regular, and I know the grass is always green, really really green when you get somewhere new, so green, and then the green starts to not be so green. And so, what you're feeling now that you've been on in Indo for so long, and I know, probably your strategy of as a gypsy, maybe I shouldn't use the word gypsy, but as a traveler, as a wanderer that you are, you said you can, wherever you lay your hat, you're at home, or wherever your heart is, you're at home. So I'm here, I'm at home. Do you, what is it like teaching in Bali? I would imagine because Bali has so many people want to go and so many people do go, that teaching there could be really fun because maybe there's like a really free spirited, like searching feeling, and like, I want to open up, I want more, I want to be exposed to more. What is your take on being a yoga teacher in the time that you spend in Bali? What kind of feeling do you get from it?
Yeah, for me, I would say the best thing is that it's a very international crowd. So we have people coming from every possible corner of the world. We have people coming from loads of different European countries, from all over Asia, a lot of Americans, Australians, you
Russian?
name it.
A lot of Russians too, right?
Some, yeah, for sure,
I
as
heard that.
well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. There's Russians living in Ubud as well, and but not so many maybe to the yoga classes. There are some,
Uh-huh.
but they are not the biggest crowd, I would say.
Yeah.
We have one Russian, one of my colleagues, Yegor, is Russian. He left Russia maybe, I think he said a couple of years ago, something like that. He's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful person, actually, really
Yeah.
soft, really lovely, lovely, lovely man. The softest like ever, like a teddy bear. Yeah. Yeah, so international crowd, and then the fact what I mentioned earlier that I really feel that I can help on a deeper level a lot of people since there are a big number of people who come to Bali for a proper reason. Like they are searching for meaning in their lives, they are searching for answers, they are going through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, they're looking for healing. So, yeah, I feel that I can help
Mm, that's
in that
cool.
area a lot. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's a really neat take. That's a really interesting take on it because like you're right, the older and longer that we get and we practice, it feels that perhaps we have more to offer coming back from that patience thing. Isn't patience such a cool thing because you can't give that to somebody. You can't, in that idea of like I'm searching for healing and we want it now, and it's such a patient journey to allow things to unfold for healing to occur or to change perspectives. And that's so neat that you can see that and that you're able to facilitate that. And I'm curious then on your mentorship, the way you mentor people, what does that look like? Like how does that I mean, I understand it'd be just probably through conversation and presence and probably I think you put attention into carrying yourself in a way of as an example, and therefore that just rubs off over time. Do you
Yeah.
have a protocol and or certain strategy that you use in a mentorship relationship?
Yeah. Yeah, there's different ways of doing it. One is that the people who want to have this mentorship, they can come to Bali and be with me for a month. That's one option. So then we basically do work together every day. Then there are a lot of these sort of semi unofficial mentoring sessions happening. And then these really totally unofficial, like this girl I mentioned who came to the class. So I'm doing a lot of helping really without any kind of like
Mm,
financial interest.
mhm.
I never ask for any money. It's just something that comes automatically because I know how it feels
Yeah,
when you're suffering, as I've been
yeah,
going through that myself.
yeah.
It's just I often feel that, in all honesty, that these people they somehow are drawn to me because there is something because I had that stage in my own life for a long time. So you can pretty much come to me with any kind of issue and nothing would shake me because I seen it all. I've experienced it all. So yeah, it's just very natural for me to be together with people like that.
Understood.
So these sessions they can look so different. They can be very short, they can be really long, they can be official, unofficial, semi-unofficial. It depends so much on the individual again and what is kind of like what is it that they are dealing with. Yeah, so there's not really like one set formula only that kind of like fits all, not like one size fits all. There has to be like tailor-made for the individual, really.
Yeah. Well, I understand that. And I like the fact that it sounds like it was just a natural progression for you
Yeah,
in each of these elements. I don't feel like it doesn't sound like you pushed becoming a yoga teacher. It doesn't sound like you hurried up to be a mentor. You know, it's almost like it just slowly or patiently evolved,
yeah,
which is an amazing thing.
yeah.
Well
It's the
done,
same thing
Sana.
how I started
Yeah.
to, exactly same thing how I started to teach yoga here in Bali. We actually came here with the intention of taking a sabbatical. So me and my husband and our son. So when we came to Bali 2013, I had planned to take 1 year off, so a sabbatical totally from teaching. I had been teaching so much yoga in Singapore and all, all over the place in many different countries, cities. So I just felt like, okay, now I really want to take back my own time. 1 year, I'm not going to teach. I just want to focus onto my own practice. I go to all these wonderful teachers. And then after 6 months, I was headhunted to this studio and yeah, and then kind of like you give your little finger, then in no time they took the whole hand. And there's a very happy ending to that. I'm again, clearly it was meant to be, you know?
That's awesome, Sana. That's so cool. I hear you. Well, this has been such a pleasure to meet you. I started a gratitude journal that someone gave me. And just 5 minutes in the morning, wake up, write down three things I'm grateful for, three things that would make today amazing. And this morning, I woke up early because I knew I was coming in to set up to meet and speak with you. And one thing I'm grateful for is the opportunity to meet new people. I love this chance to meet new people. I feel like it just gives me so much inspiration. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity and for your open-heartedness to converse with me and to meet with me. So I feel your generosity and I really appreciate it so much, Sanna. Is there anything that you feel you would like to add to close our conversation together? Any last or not fine? It sounds so like intense. Like, what's your final message? Is there any other little tidbit of love and encouragement you could offer us, and with the hopes or intention of closing our session and all of us going about our day and being pumped for life, excited for all the things that are
Right
coming.
up, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
But the jam. Thinking about all these 90s great songs, you inspire
Right?
me.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
I'm
It's
actually a little bit mental that way. Many words, they instantly give me, a song. Like when you said pump, I'm like, pump up the
I
jam.
love it. Me too. What was it yesterday?
So
An
good.
In excess song came into my head. It was new sensation, new
Yeah.
sensation. Yeah. And I'm like, you'll say one thing and all of a sudden the song just comes back into your mind. I'm like, we could talk in song riddle. We could just go through our
Yeah.
entire
Yeah,
our
we could do
history.
a next podcast based on that for sure.
Do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
when I teach yoga philosophy in our that's my sort of main area of responsibility in our yoga teacher trainings. I just love it. Totally turns me on yoga philosophy. Oh my gosh. So it happens to me all the time when I'm speaking or anyone else is speaking, someone is sharing from the group, one of the trainees, they say something and I hear just one word. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh yes. You know, heart. Oh yes. Open your heart to me,
Oh
baby.
yeah.
Like
Oh
how
yeah.
many songs just around the heart, right? It's like
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah.
But what you said before, actually, this gratitude thing, that is a huge, huge thing. And if I would say if you are in trouble, or let's say anyone is in trouble and they can't think about anything else, you see what happens. You probably know it very well through your own experience. I certainly know it very well through my own experience. When we are depressed, what do? We think about ourselves. We think about the Holy Trinity, me, myself, and I, all the time. This is another song, me, myself, and I, a rap song,
Oh yeah.
right?
I'm trying to think who it is. Who was that?
Was it
Not De La Soul. De La Soul or
yeah,
I think
that's
it is.
right.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
totally. Yeah. So my one of my great teachers, Lama Marut. Oh gosh, I learned so much from him. I loved him to death,
Lama
literally to
Marut.
death.
I'm writing these
Lama
things
Marut.
down.
Yeah, you
How,
should check him out and
how do
all the
I know how to spell
listeners.
llama, but how do I spell? Is it Marut? How do I say it?
Marut is Marut.
Thank you. Maruti. Lama
Yeah,
Maruti.
Lama Marut actually, I mean, bless his soul, he very sadly passed away when he was just 60, over 60. He got cancer and passed away. He was my teacher when I lived in Singapore for a number of years. I learned so much from him, and some of the main things were gratitude and forgiveness.
Hmm.
And he was actually American. He had a PhD in comparative religion, and he he was a Buddhist monk for ooh, for many many years, and he lived monastic life. And then later on in life, he gave up his robes because he also had a past, like we all have. He had a past. He used to be like a surfer and Harley Davidson dude, and I loved him so much because he was like a real person. He had that past, and then he had done his academical path, and he was highly academical. And then when he spoke with you, he always came down to the level of the listener, and he was just playing it down always so much And he was so funky. He was like the rock and roll of all the like philosophy, yoga philosophy teachers, like such an amazing human. I miss him so much. And I learned so much from him. And yeah, the gratitude thing, like he always said that because he also used to suffer from depression in his past life, in his young age. And he said that what do you think about? You're thinking about yourself. I mean, how egoistic is that? And just, if you can't do anything else, think this: how can I help someone else who's suffering? Like, um, if you're lonely, go to an elderly person's home and go and chat. Give your precious time, 1 hour from your precious time to some, elderly person. And there are so many people out there, like especially elder people, they have nobody because they don't maybe have any more family, whatever. Nobody cares, literally. So go and chat with them. It means like everything to them, and it's nothing really for you. So, like, if the more we start to think about the others, the less we have time and energy to feel sorry about the little me.
Mm.
So he had all these great teachings. He was such a wonderful, wonderful human. So I don't think I would be who I am today if it wasn't for him, plus all my other teachers that I mentioned before already. But I mean, whenever I teach actually in these yoga teacher trainings, I say something which is totally true. If anything good comes out of my mouth, and this also applies to this talk, if anything good comes out of my mouth, it's only because of my great teachers. And if anything I said wrong or not so nice, it's because of me. That's
Mm,
how it is.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sanna. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
My total pleasure. Thank you, Todd. You're doing great job.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait for next time.
Yeah, same. And come to Bali. Let me
Ah,
know when you're
that
coming.
just twist my arm a little harder, Sanna. Come on, just like pull my arm up in Parsvottanasana a little harder.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come with your wife. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Well, I am so thankful. I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to actually meeting you in person. Thank you, Sanna.
Yeah, same. Totally. Thank you, Todd. Yeah.